This program is about unsolved mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you are about to see is not a news broadcast.
Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries, in honor of Halloween, meet a family with an extraordinary tale to tell about a haunted house and an uninvited otherworldly guest. In 1992, Agawam, Massachusetts was shocked by the brutal murder of a popular school teacher. Her students, her parents, and the entire town are determined to bring her killer to justice. During the tumultuous days of the London Blitz, two schoolgirls, Adine Murphy and Eve Mizell, forged a heartfelt friendship. But as a teenager, Adine moved to America, and now she needs your help to find her cherished childhood companion. Join me. Perhaps you may be able to help solve a mystery. If you happen to be in Lake Wales, Florida on Halloween night, or any night for that matter, there's a house you might want to avoid. It's a very ordinary looking house, but as you probably suspect, appearances deceive. In the fall of 1991, 19-year-old Alan Mann lived in the house with his parents. Alan worked nights, and during the day he was often home alone, or so he thought.
I had the afternoon off. I'd come home, and I guess it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd finally gotten some sleep.
Alan. Alan. Wake up, Alan. Alan, get up.
The figure turned away from the door like it was leaving. And by the time I got up and walked 3 paces to the door, I don't know what happened. It just turned the corner and disappeared.
When Alan Mann of Lake Wales, Florida, began claiming that he had a ghost in his bedroom, his parents poo-pooed the idea that their house was haunted. That was that, until Alan got married and his 16-year-old bride, Linda, moved into the house. Shortly after the wedding, Alan's mother, Sandra, was watching TV with her new daughter-in-law. Sandra, the skeptic, was about to change her tune.
I don't know why I watch these reruns.
I had my little dog, Prince, beside me, and he was laying on a pillow. And I looked down at the end of the couch and I saw this white, smoky thing. And the first thing I thought was fire. And by that time, the dog had gotten up on his feet and it just disappeared. You know, when Prince came back, I said, oh, Prince, you know, we've got company. You know, and this is when Linda snapped around and you know, like, what's going on?
So you ready to ask it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there a spirit present?
Even though Alan's bride, Linda, hadn't seen the apparition, she was convinced the house was haunted. Determined to get the scoop, yes, Linda and Alan enlisted a friend with a Ouija board.
Is it a man or a woman?
The board talked real good with me.
W.
Oh, it's a woman.
It's a woman.
I believed in it.
I've believed in that kind of stuff for a while, but I never come across it until then.
What's your name?
According to Linda and Alan, the board spelled out the name Kramer. That was all the proof they needed. They had a ghost, and her name was Kramer. Alan's father, David, was having none of it.
I thought I was living with a bunch of flakes. I really didn't want to be involved in it. I just kind of sloughed it off and didn't bother with it. And I didn't want to have anything to do with it. If it was a paranormal experience or something like that, I didn't want to have to worry about it. I just didn't want to admit it.
Look, Linda, this is a baseball game on Channel 9.
Linda and Alan knew there was a ghost. They didn't know she had an ambush planned.
Okay, fine. You okay? What?
All of a sudden, she just snapped.
What, honey?
And she got this weird look.
What has gotten
She pretty much attacked me.
What is with you tonight?
She was laughing. She had some weird laugh I had never heard. You know, it didn't even sound like her. She has this squeaky little giggle, and this was almost an evil laugh.
Aren't they a little more active than evil?
We remarked a few times, you know, well, what's going on? And it just kept getting louder and louder and louder.
There's something wrong there.
David, I don't like the sound of this.
Linda, let go of my wrists, Linda.
She was holding me down, and normally she can't hold one hand down with both her arms.
Linda, what has gotten into you?
I tried to get away, and it made her get more violent. And she started putting more force on my arms. So I pushed against her.
Let go of me!
And I slammed against the wall 3 times, and she released me.
Linda.
What?
And she put her head on my shoulder again and started talking and picked up the conversation exactly where she left off before she snapped.
I don't have any memory of what happened. That's not me. I don't have an evil laugh. I don't do the things that he says I do. That's just not my type. I'm not that type of person. I just don't remember.
Suddenly, the innocuous ghost had taken on a whole new personality, difficult to ignore. Even David Mann sat up and took notice.
The possibilities in my mind were endless as what might be able to happen. And I really got concerned. And so at that point, I said, look, I'm going to go get some help. Somebody somewhere can tell me what the heck is going on.
How's that? Think this is gonna be all right?
A spiritualist told the Manns to pour salt all around the house. A number of snails were sacrificed, but the ghost stayed on. The Manns kept bags of salt under their beds and even tried a homegrown exorcism.
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
We were going to do anything anybody told us to get rid of this stuff.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses.
It did work for a few days. It did. Things calmed down, but after that, everything came back stronger than ever. Every time we tried something, a couple days, it would settle down, and then it would be stronger. You know, there'd be more happenings.
According to the Manns, the house began to smell to high heaven, most times like a burned-out motor. All 4 of the Manns suffered from bad headaches. Some of the rooms took on a deathly chill. And then there were the voices.
What we heard was like a whole mass of voices, dull, muttering, couldn't understand a thing, and one woman voice over the top of them. But yet you could not distinguish anything they were saying.
What time is it?
9:30.
David and Sandra tried to act blasé, but the ghost wasn't about to let them off the hook.
Okay.
I stopped right in the middle of the hall. I caught the smell again.
Sandra, tell Isabella to leave me alone. I do not want to have anything to do with her. Nothing. I am sick and tired of the smells, the voices, the bells, the noises. It's terrible.
David.
I'm sick.
David. How do you know her name is Isabella?
Isabella?
And I didn't have any explanation for her. It's like you get an idea. Little voice inside your head, like your conscience or whatever it is, that little voice that you listen to. And it tells you to do right and wrong. It said, you know, this is Isabella.
Honey.
David and his family consulted a parapsychologist. He introduced them to a psychic.
Joshua, this is David.
Glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you, David. I've just been talking with your family here for a while, and I get the sense that the name of the spirit in your house is Isabella.
Did you talk to me about that?
No, I didn't.
And I was taken aback, and it really surprised me. And I said, Joshua, there's no way that you could know that the woman in my house is Isabella. There is just no way. Because there's only two people in the world at this time that know that name, and that's Sandra and I. And we haven't known it that long.
I've worked with hundreds of psychics and been around them, and I know what a psychic is, and this thing really astounded me to see him come up with a name of that nature. I was very impressed with it.
Can you come up with a last name?
I see the name Kramer. Isabella Kramer?
At that point, a light bulb goes off in my head because I says, in my paperwork at home, I got that name Kramer written down. It came from the Ouija board.
The Manns were spooked, especially Linda. She and Alan decided it was high time to get
I
out.
said that 100 times. Let's just finish packing and we'll be gone.
Are you almost done over there?
Not yet.
We had a couple boxes left, and she was defaming the ghost, cussing it pretty bad. Evidently, she upset it because right in the mid-sentence of cussing the ghost, the light bulb exploded. Lasted maybe half a minute or so. Then the bulb just fizzed out and died.
I upset the ghost. Very bad. She made me mad. I went through a lot when I lived there, and I just wanted to hurry up and get out. No one tell her how I felt about her before I left one last time.
Before long, word of the man's plight reached the Center for Paranormal Studies in Silver Springs, Florida. Armed with a trunkload of electronic equipment, the center's 3 founders showed up at the man's house on September 19th, 1992.
This is the living room area where Sandra had her experience.
Right, this is where I had the apparition experience.
As we drove up to the house, I felt sort of an emptiness inside. And as I went into the house, the air seemed to get thicker, and it had an odor, and it was uncomfortable.
To me, the house, just looking at it, it had a presence that was profoundly unpleasant, an extremely foul smell. I described it in my notes as kind of like rotting flesh.
Kind of odor. Things have happened all over the house, but particularly Alan's bedroom.
It definitely had an oppressive ambiance to it, almost a depressive type of feeling. After being in the house for several hours, we all began to experience headaches.
Northeast corner of the house, bedroom B.
In Linda and Alan's old bedroom, the electromagnetic equipment went haywire, as if there'd been a power surge of some sort.
Getting some magnetic flux here, it's off the scale. You don't normally see this fluctuation, and it was very, very high. So I thought it would be a good idea to start taking a series of photographs at that point.
Andrew Nichols took 2 Polaroid shots, one during and one after the electromagnetic flux. The second photograph was normal, not so the first.
I thought it was just a washed out photo. But over the subsequent minutes, this image started forming.
There was a vague humanoid shape in the forefront of the picture. It may be a reflection of some unusual environmental effect. It may be a strange artifact of the human psyche, or it may be a contact with a dimension of existence that's beyond our imagination.
When I looked at it, I knew that that was what I had seen at the end of the couch, that was Isabella. And I was real excited about it, to see that somebody else could see her too.
Two months later, after a visit from a local minister, the hauntings appeared to stop. But the Manns had had enough. David and Sandra, like Alan and Linda before them, felt that all things considered, they would rather be elsewhere.
Everybody that has come in contact with this house have told us that what they do may or may not be permanent. They don't know. Nobody knows. And I felt that as a result of what we had done, we might have slowed it down, but I doubt very seriously if we had stopped it.
Was the house in Lake Wales haunted by the spirit of someone named Isabella Kramer? Although there are no records of such a person ever lived in the area, the Manns have all the proof they need. In March of 1993, this photograph, taken in Alan Mann's old bedroom, was sent to Polaroid headquarters in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Analysts there said the shape in the foreground had not been caused by a defect in the film or in the camera. Could it be the ghostly image of Isabella Kramer? Not surprisingly, the experts have yet to provide an answer. Next, a woman searches for the childhood friend who helped her survive the horrors of World War II. World War II. The treacherous seas of the North Atlantic off the coast of England. Hundreds of ships were attacked and sunk by German U-boats. Thousands lost their lives, and for every man killed, a family was shattered and changed forever. That was the case for Merchant Marine William Murphy. In December of 1941, Murphy was aboard a supply ship when it was torpedoed. He left behind a wife, a son, and 3 daughters. Within a month of her husband's death, Morna Murphy placed her son in a foster home and took her 3 daughters to an orphanage on the outskirts of London, St. Helen's Convent of Mercy.
Hello, Mrs. Murphy.
Hello. This is Adine, and this is Philomena, and this is Morna.
Girls, just in time to join us. Come along.
For Adine, the oldest of the Murphy children, the pain of saying goodbye was especially difficult.
Don't fret, love. I'll see you on Sunday.
When my mother left, I just felt devastated, like suddenly the whole world had disappeared and left me in some strange place that I didn't belong in. And that was the feeling I always had, that I don't belong here, I'm not an orphan.
Conditions in the orphanage reflected the bleak reality of wartime England. There was little food, inadequate heating, and a strict code of rules.
The sisters were very harsh. They had a lot of little girls to take care of, so that you really didn't get any attention, except when you did something wrong, then you get a crack over the head or a hit in the backside or something. I especially remember at night, we had a dormitory with rows of beds, and I'd just lie there and I would feel these little tears going down my face, and I didn't know why I was crying.
Adine felt terribly lonely. The isolation was almost unbearable until another new girl arrived at the convent.
Hello. Hello. Can I play? All right.
Eve Meisel came from a prominent Jewish family in Austria. Her father, a musician, had been captured by the Nazis. Like millions of others, he was sent to a concentration camp where he would eventually die. Eve's mother had managed to escape to London, but she lacked the means to support a family, and Eve was sent to the orphanage. Her arrival would change Adine's life.
I'm not very good.
The first thing I noticed about her was that she wasn't English, and she looked different. You know, to me, she looked different. You know, she had very dark hair and dark eyes, and she was very bubbly and very funny. And she always had jokes about everything. We'd make jokes about the nuns, and we just sort of hung out together.
The London Blitz was still in full force. Every night, for months on end, the German Air Force bombarded the city, reducing much of it to rubble.
Come along. Let's go.
Most evenings would be pierced by the shrill sounds of air raid sirens. The girls in the orphanage were hustled into a downstairs shelter to listen and wait.
It was just terrifying, but you just lived with it day in, day out. And I think one of the most terrifying things for both Eve and I was that we did not know from one week to another if our mothers were okay. We believed that we would live through the bombing, but at the same time, we expected to die. You know, when you go to sleep at night, the nuns would say, make sure you say an act of contrition because you may be dead in the morning, you see. But of course, Eve wouldn't say that because she's Jewish. She doesn't say acts of contrition. She just considered that total nonsense. And I wondered sometimes how she found the strength without that to keep going and not be afraid.
You've got what I need, Zoya.
Adine and Eve became practically inseparable. They made an unwritten pact that they would survive the war together.
Check with me in New York after you're out.
They also shared a common dream, to one day cross the ocean to live in America.
Quite a layout, Bentley. But you've only been out a week.
Eve and I didn't have a concept of what America actually was at first, other than a place where everybody was happy and there wasn't any war and everybody had enough to eat. And that's the place for us. That's where we're going to go, Eve and I say, when we grow up.
Now, on you boys.
As the war dragged on, Adine and Eve grew from little girls into young women. When the conflict finally ended, they returned to their families, but remained as close as ever. They attended the same high school and took the same classes. By the time they graduated, Adine and Eve had spent half their lives together. Shortly after graduation, Adine's childhood dream came true. Relatives offered to pay her way to America.
Well, I'm leaving tomorrow.
You know, I told Eve about it, and she was very abrupt, almost not, oh, that's great or anything. She sort of pulled back, not like her usual self.
You'll have a fabulous time. Well, I'll write you, tell you what it's like. It'll just be a year or so, and then you'll be there. Oh, yeah. Won't be long.
And I was young. I was like 17, so I didn't understand, I think, how hurt she was.
Bye-bye, Eddie. Bye-bye.
Because we had planned to go together.
Be safe. You too.
And I didn't understand too well myself at the time because I was so excited just to be going. And I never thought of it as final. I never thought that would be the last time I'd see her because we've been so close for so long.
Life in America was everything Adine had hoped for. She and Eve exchanged monthly letters for more than a year. Both of them fell in love and married. However, in the end, time and distance pulled the two friends apart, but Adine never forgot. Adine hopes that she and her long-lost friend will one day be reunited here in America, the land they dreamed of so many years ago.
Check with me in New York after you're out.
It feels like she's a part of me that I've carried around all these years, and I just want to see her. She's in my dreams all the time. I just remember her eyes, how pretty they were, and her voice, and just that she was there for me, you know, when I needed someone.
Next, a small town is outraged by the death of a young schoolteacher. Agawam, Massachusetts, near the western Connecticut border, is a small town, and the people who live here like it that way. In 1989, Agawam voted overwhelmingly not to be known as a city, but to remain simply a town, a place where neighbors are friends and friends are family. At the Agawam Middle School, under a dogwood tree in the courtyard, there is a memorial to one of the town's most beloved daughters, Lisa Ziegert, whose untimely death changed Agawam forever.
Lisa was a very special person. She was bubbly, outgoing, full of fun. The kids, she always had a special rapport. They knew that she really liked them. I mean, and that she treated them like people.
Now this happens to be a model of an apple blossom.
Lisa Ziegert had grown up in Agawam. After college, she returned home to teach special needs students at the middle school.
The petals would dry up, and this would become an apple.
I think of Lisa as a gifted teacher.
Something up here.
The gifted teacher is the one into whose eyes a child can look and see a reflection of value. And you can't fake it. You either have it or you don't. It's a gift. And I think Lisa had it.
Well, what would you do if it was all black in your house?
I'd turn on the lights.
That's a good idea. Is there a light switch there anywhere?
Yeah, right here.
If you had a problem, she'd try to help you solve it, and she would never yell at you. She'd always try to figure out what the problem is in a nice way.
If you had a question, she'd answer it. She was like the best teacher out of the whole school.
What are you guys supposed to read for biology? Do you remember?
Chapter 5.
All right.
On Wednesday, April 15th, 1992, Lisa left school around 4:30. She drove directly to a card and gift shop where she worked weekdays from 5 to 9 p.m. At 5:30, Lisa's sister dropped by.
Anne's gonna love that picture. You think? Oh yeah, she likes everything you do. Are you gonna frame this one?
Lisa was working on a sketch for my best friend
She
Anne.
takes this one seriously.
I know who that is.
It was easy talk. It was sister talk.
Go to the gym tonight?
No, I was.
It was a little after 6 o'clock when I left. And then I went home, and she was fine when she was fine when I left.
The next morning at 8:45, Sophia Maynard arrived as usual to open up the store. She was surprised Lisa was there on a school day.
I saw her car. The lights were on in the store. The open flag was out. It was strange. I couldn't imagine why she'd be there. And then I remembered that it was Easter weekend coming up, and we had planned to stuff some balloons, and that's what she was doing there. So I really didn't think much of anything until I walked inside the store,
Lisa? Lisa!
I called her name a couple of times, and she didn't, I figured she'd just pop her head out. She didn't. I came behind the counter. All of her things were there, her drawings and her pocketbook, her car keys. And then I just kind of freaked out. I knew that something was wrong, so I ran across the street to a restaurant across the street, and asked them to call the police.
Watch your step in here.
Police found signs of a struggle in the back storeroom and a few scattered traces of blood. Otherwise, there was no physical evidence at the card shop. That very day, the Agawam Police Department, aided by the FBI and the Massachusetts State Police, launched a massive search.
You wait to hear something good, but at that point you start feeling that, possibly it isn't going to be a good answer to what's going on.
I couldn't let myself believe that everything wasn't going to be okay, that she would be found, and no matter what had happened, that we would be able to have her back.
that manhole covers a permanent...
On Easter Sunday, 4 days after Lisa disappeared, her body was found in a wooded area on the edge of town.
She had multiple knife wounds around her shoulders and throat, and later on, an examination by the county medical examiner indicated that she had been sexually assaulted.
Never before in the history of Agawam had there been such an outpouring of love, such shared grief. At Lisa Ziegert's wake, more than 1,000 people stood for 5 hours in a spring rain to pay her tribute.
It was just beyond anything I ever experienced. It just, again, showed us what kind of a person Lisa was. We're not a political family or anything, so there would be no reason they would come out for us. It was for her.
I miss the way she teaches and the way she was such a friend to everyone. And I wish that there were more people in the world that were like her.
As Agawam mourned, the authorities pressed their investigation. 3 critical phone tips came in, which helped establish a time frame.
The first call was from a person who had been in the store at 8:20 and had made a purchase and actually had a time-stamped receipt.
Excuse me? Do you know the price on this?
Oh, it should be marked.
There was nothing that was unusual. There was nothing that was out of line, nothing that perked their attention to say that they should call the police.
Great, would you like it wrapped?
The second person was a customer of the store who had gone in at 9 o'clock.
Is anybody here?
She found it open, lights on, but nobody was around.
Hello?
This person told us that they did hear some noise in the back room.
Hello?
She described it as a banging noise. She waited a minute and nobody came out, so she left. This suggested to us that Lisa was in the store at around 9 o'clock, and in the back room, further investigation revealed that she had been horizontal on the floor and there were 2 kick marks from her shoes on the bottom of the door.
The third tip came from a woman who worked near the card shop. At 9:15 on the night Lisa was murdered, the woman was on her way home.
She was stopped at the stop sign at the intersection of Route 75 and Adams Street. And while stopped at that intersection, she observed a Bronco or Blazer-type vehicle, full size, pull off the road into a piece of property that led into the area where Lisa Ziegert's body was found. She said that there was an operator in the front, and in the back seat, she believed there was 2 people, 1 male and 1 female. And she saw the person whom she believed to be the female see her head go up and down a couple of times as the vehicle drove off into the woods.
At the time, the woman thought it was just a carload of teenagers. She drove on. There have been no further clues. Today, the students at Agawam Middle School cherish the memorial they established in honor of Lisa Ziegert, who in her own brief life touched so many of their lives.
I think children always feel that nothing can happen to them. And when something happens to someone that so many of them knew, it brought it home that life isn't always fair and that you have to be extra careful, and even sometimes when you're extra careful, it doesn't matter. This cannot go unpunished. It can't be something where this person gets away. And the children have got to know this. If it's important for us, it's even more important for them.
There is a reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Lisa Ziegert's killer or killers. Police have taken plaster molds of tire tracks left at the murder scene. The vehicle cited by the witness was a late model full-size Bronco or Blazer, either dark red or dark blue. When we return, a heartwarming reunion. and police need your help to find an unknown gunman. December 7th, 1941. The United States was plunged into World War II. Among the millions of Americans eager to enlist was 30-year-old Harry Young of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
I can't stay here while there's a war going on. I need you to sign this paper.
Harry, I think it's a terrible idea for you to leave right now. I need you. We all need you.
Don't need me.
Because he had a family to support, Harry needed his wife's permission in order to enlist.
Look, 2 years. I'll be back. Just sign the paper.
No.
Laura?
Harry Young walked out on his wife Laura, never to return. He had no idea that she was then pregnant with her second son. Later, Laura would learn that Harry had enlisted in the Army using forged documents and was serving overseas. On October 24th, 1943, Laura Young received the news every soldier's wife fears. Her husband had been killed in action. 37 years later, Harry's oldest son, Albert, was researching the family tree when he found a newspaper article about his father's death. Incredibly, the obituary made mention of a daughter, but not of Albert or his brother Jim.
Well, at first I thought that the paper made a mistake, which wasn't common. You know, papers do make mistakes, and I thought maybe that they had got the information wrong, and I had a copy made so I could go into it further.
Albert was shocked to discover that after Harry walked out on his marriage, he had become involved with another woman. They had a daughter, Kathleen Mary Young, born while Harry was overseas.
Look, we can do
Just
nothing.
after Harry's death, the woman had
you go to
taken
your own
Kathleen to Harry's parents, but they wanted nothing to do with either of them.
I have some of Harry's things. Would you like me to bring them over to you?
No, just send them.
Kathleen Mary Young grew up knowing next to nothing about her two half-brothers, Albert and Jim, until the night of our broadcast. That evening, Kathleen couldn't have been more surprised when she heard her name on television. By the next morning, she had talked to both Albert and Jim. Kathleen had heard that Harry's parents rejected her mother, and she knew about one of her brothers, but she never imagined that anyone was looking for her.
It makes me feel, I don't know, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like special in a way that they took the time in all those years that now that I know that they were looking for me.
On September 19th, 1993, the long separation came to an end when Kathleen Young, accompanied by her family, came to Stratford, New Jersey to meet her half-brothers for the first time.
When I hugged her, it was just euphoria. It felt wonderful. I knew it was her as soon as she stepped out of the car. That's a Young.
For the three children of Harry Young, the reunion meant a new beginning. After 50 years apart, they were finally a family.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you both.
On January 5th, 1991, random violent crime struck the city of Orange, California. The crime was just one of many that day, warning less than a minute on the evening news in Los Angeles. But a young man was shot and left paralyzed. Tonight, authorities want your help in bringing the assailant to justice. 1991 had promised to be a good year for Rory Weigel. Rory was 25 and was all set to ask his girlfriend to marry him. He had just graduated from a technical training school, and he planned to open his own auto repair shop. But on January 5th, Rory's life would change forever. He had spent the day with his girlfriend. That night, Rory made a quick stop at his house around 9:30.
I parked my car, turned the headlights off, left the parking lights on. I left the car running. It wasn't uncommon for me to do that. People know when I'm there and when I'm not, just by the sound of the car.
On his way out, Rory went into the garage to find an extra set of stereo speakers for his girlfriend's sister.
I'm looking underneath the bench and some boxes for those speakers because I knew I just saw it recently. And I wasn't in there for more than a couple, maybe 30, 40 seconds, maybe a minute the longest. And I heard my car rev up.
Hey, no te muevas.
What are you doing?
Espera ya, no te muevas.
What are you doing in my car?
Déjame, este es mío.
Get out of my
Este
car!
es mío.
I said get out of my car! Just get out of here, okay? What are you doing in my car?
¿Qué quieres, eh?
I was in my living room watching television, and I heard an engine revving on the street, which is unusual at that time of night. And I got up to look out the window, and there were shots fired.
I don't know what's going on. All I remember is that I'm falling backwards, and for some reason I know I'm not gonna be able to get back up. I have no idea. I don't feel anything. I don't hear anything. All I do is just see him run away. And then I lost my memory. I don't remember what happened from then.
I immediately went onto the front of my house, and almost instantly a car sped by with what turned out to be the suspects. As he hit the end of the street, I saw him turn, and then they were gone.
Hang in there, man. You're gonna make it. Come on, you can make it. Come on.
Two other neighbors, Mark Cordes and Jim Morris, rushed to help.
Is he conscious?
Rory had been shot twice, once in the leg and once in the neck. Fortunately, both Mark and Jim had emergency medical training.
Hang in there, Rory.
I should be dead. I lost me at least twice going to the hospital.
We get a blanket around here? Somebody get a blanket?
They didn't think I was gonna make it through the surgery, but I did. So, you know, I have a lot of gratitude, more than I can really express. It kind of looks like a Grand Prix car.
Yeah.
The fiberglass body. Top
2.5 years have passed since Rory Weigel was shot. He cannot move his legs or hands and has limited use of his arms. The man suspected of shooting Rory is in his early 20s, between 5 feet 8 and 5 feet 10 inches tall, and weighs around 165 pounds. He has dark hair, parted on the right, and is probably Hispanic. There is no composite of the man who drove the getaway car. That vehicle was described as a dark GM car, possibly a Monte Carlo, late 70s or early 80s model, with chrome wheels and a vinyl roof. On our next Unsolved Mysteries, in May of 1917, near Fatima, Portugal, 3 children witnessed what many believe was truly a miracle. The first of 6 appearances of a vision of the Virgin Mary. At the final appearance, many of the 70,000 eyewitnesses on hand would claim to see the sun spin and dip in a spectacular celestial display. To this day, the events at Fatima have intrigued skeptics and believers alike. Join me next time for this remarkable saga and more on Unsolved Mysteries.
Thank you.